The space station shimmered in the darkness of the void. Its vast docking bays were alive with the hum of starships from countless worlds. Aliens of every shape and size moved along the corridors, speaking in languages Ilara had only partially learned. Her human eyes, so ordinary by alien standards, scanned the crowd with calm curiosity. This was her first interstellar summit, and though humans were newcomers, she felt ready. Ilara adjusted her ceremonial robe and walked into the main hall. The alien delegates' eyes followed her, some with curiosity, others with barely disguised amusement. Humans were rare in these parts. Many of these races had been exploring space for centuries, while Earth had only recently joined interstellar politics. Most saw humans as simple creatures, intelligent, yes, but lacking the finesse, experience, or sophistication of older species. And then there was Prince Xylar. Xylar was the heir to the Xandari throne, tall and imposing with 4 arms that he used both for gestures and intimidation. His violet-scaled skin glinted under the station lights, and his eyes, sharp and calculating, seemed to measure everyone in the room. He moved with an arrogance that made other delegates step aside, and when he noticed Ilara, a sly smile curved his lips. "You are human," he said, his voice smooth but edged with condescension. "I have heard much about your species. Clever, they say, but perhaps too simple for serious matters." Ilara returned his smile, polite but firm. "Cleverness is not always loud, Your Highness. Sometimes it is quiet, patient, and precise." A ripple went through the room. Most delegates turned to watch the human woman and the alien prince. Ilara knew that Xylar liked attention, liked to show that he was in control, and she also knew that underestimating humans was his first mistake. The negotiations began. Trade agreements, resource exchanges, and territorial discussions filled the hall with voices and projections. Xylar, always eager to dominate, tried to corner Ilara in front of other delegates. He gestured to her robe, brushing against the fabric as if to mark his superiority. "Humans are delicate," he said, "and yet so ambitious. How will you survive in such complex negotiations?" Ilara felt the subtle touch, but she did not react. Her calm demeanor only seemed to amuse him further. "Perhaps you need guidance," Xylar added, smiling. "I could teach you how things are done here." The hall grew tense. Many humans might have reacted angrily, but Ilara did not. She had prepared for this moment. She understood that the key to survival in alien politics was observation and strategy, not force. "Guidance is appreciated," she replied softly. "But humans have a way of learning quickly. We may surprise you." Xylar raised a brow and chuckled, dismissive yet curious. "We shall see." The summit continued, but Xylar made it his mission to test her. He asked questions designed to trap her, proposing trade deals with hidden clauses and expecting her to falter. He tried to confuse her with complex Xandari customs, all the while underestimating her sharp mind. But Ilara had come prepared. Humans had learned much in a short time, and she had studied alien languages, customs, and logic puzzles. For every trap Xylar set, she countered with subtle wit. She did not need to confront him aggressively. She simply guided the conversation in ways he did not anticipate. By mid-session, Xylar realized something troubling. Every time he attempted to humiliate or dominate her, the humans around him grew more impressed with her composure. Aliens who had laughed at the idea of humans now exchanged glances, uncertain of what they had expected. During a break, Ilara approached a holographic projection of the trade map. Xylar followed, silently watching her work. "You are clever," he admitted almost grudgingly. "I have never met a human with such skill. Perhaps I underestimated your species." Ilara did not look up. "Underestimation can be dangerous," she said. "It teaches a lesson in humility." Xylar's smile faltered. He had thought this would be an easy exercise in human inferiority. Instead, he felt the first pang of frustration he had experienced in years. Humans were small, fragile, and seemingly unremarkable. But this human woman was bending his expectations effortlessly. "Perhaps I need to adjust my approach," he murmured. "You may," Ilara said, turning to face him. Her eyes met his calmly, and in them was the quiet confidence of a species that had survived against great odds. "But remember, the lesson is yours to learn, not mine to give. You only learn it if you fail to pay attention." Xylar blinked. His pride would not allow him to admit it openly, but deep inside he knew she was right. Humans were unpredictable. That unpredictability was their strength, and arrogance could no longer shield him from its effects. The final negotiation session approached. Xylar attempted one last display of dominance, a complex trade deal designed to corner the humans into an unfavorable agreement. He presented it confidently, certain that Alara would falter, but she had anticipated this move. Calmly, she examined the deal and proposed subtle adjustments that maintained fairness while cleverly nullifying Xylar's advantage. She presented her reasoning with clarity and logic, making it impossible for him to challenge her without looking unreasonable. The hall was silent. Delegates from multiple species watched the exchange, impressed with Alara's poise and intellect. Xylar realized that he had been outmaneuvered in front of everyone, not through force but through strategy, patience, and insight. "You have done well," Xylar said, voice low. "I did not expect this," Alara smiled. "Expecting the unexpected is a human trait," she replied. "Perhaps next time you will consider it before underestimating anyone." For the first time, Xylar felt the sting of humility. He had touched what he believed was a fragile human, only to find that she could twist his plans and pride against him without lifting a finger. The lesson in pain he never expected was not physical. It was intellectual and social, sharper than any weapon. As the summit concluded, humans received cautious but respectful nods from most delegates. Xylar stayed behind, staring at Alara as she prepared to leave. He realized that this encounter had changed his perception of humanity forever. They were no longer simple creatures to be overlooked. They were clever, resourceful, and capable of teaching lessons even to the proudest of princes. Alara walked away with calm dignity. She did not gloat and she did not rub in the prince's defeat. That was not her way. The human strength lay not in loud triumphs but in quiet mastery, in the ability to turn arrogance into opportunity, and today she had done exactly that. As she returned to her ship, she could feel the ripple her actions had caused across the station. Aliens whispered among themselves, and Xylar's pride had been punctured, not cruelly but firmly. Humans had arrived, and they were not just survivors, they were challengers, thinkers, and teachers. The stars outside twinkled as if acknowledging the shift in power. Humanity had made its mark, not with force, but with intellect, courage, and poise. And for Prince Xylar, the lesson had only just begun. The hall of the space station had quieted after the summit. Delegates wandered back to their ships, murmuring about the human diplomat who had bested Prince Xylar. But the Xandari prince lingered, pacing along the polished floor as his forearms moved with restless energy. Pride pricked him like a thorn. He had expected Alara to falter, to give him an easy victory. Yet she had turned every trap he set into a subtle triumph. Xylar could not accept this quietly. His advisors, small and timid beside him, avoided eye contact, knowing their prince had underestimated humans. He muttered to himself, frustrated, trying to piece together how one human woman could hold her own against centuries of alien experience. Meanwhile, Alara returned to the human delegation's quarters. She smiled faintly, reviewing the summit in her mind. The humans had done well, gaining recognition without confrontation. But she knew this was just the beginning. Prince Xylar was not one to forget easily, and their paths would cross again. The next morning, a new challenge arrived. The station announced a demonstration of diplomacy and cultural games, a competition designed to showcase each species' intelligence, adaptability, and strategy. Alara's delegation entered. Xylar, of course, led the Xandari team. He saw this as an opportunity to reclaim some of his bruised pride. The games began. The first challenge was a navigation puzzle, a holographic maze representing interstellar trade routes. Each team had to guide virtual ships through the labyrinth, avoiding hazards and maximizing resources. Xylar's team moved quickly, relying on speed and brute calculations. Alara's team moved slower but with careful precision, anticipating risks Xylar's team ignored. At first, Xylar smirked. "Humans will never keep up," he whispered to his advisors. But as the challenge progressed, it became clear that the human team was excelling. They avoided traps, calculated hidden opportunities, and used creative shortcuts that Xylar's team had overlooked. When the results were revealed, the humans had the highest score. Xylar felt the sting of surprise and a grudging respect for their ingenuity. Next came the negotiation challenge. Each team had to broker a resource exchange between two alien civilizations with conflicting interests. Xyler approached it aggressively, trying to pressure the delegates with authority and intimidation. Humans, however, listened patiently, asked questions, and proposed solutions that met the needs of both sides. By the end of the round, the alien delegates praised the humans for fairness, creativity, and efficiency. Xyler's methods had failed to impress. He clenched his claws, feeling the lesson from the summit echo again. Humans were unpredictable. They did not rely on force or status. They relied on understanding, insight, and careful thought. Ilara noticed Xylar's frustration but chose not to gloat. Instead, she approached him with a polite nod. "You have great skill, Prince Xylar," she said. "But skill alone is not enough. Sometimes patience and observation matter more." Xylar stared at her, words caught in his throat. He wanted to argue, to assert dominance, but he could not deny the truth in her calm statement. Humans had a way of quietly demonstrating power without a single raised hand. The final challenge was the most complex, the council simulation. Each team represented multiple species in a council debate. Their goal was to find a peaceful solution to a conflict involving resources, trade routes, and cultural claims. The simulation tested strategy, diplomacy, and adaptability. Xylar began confidently, using his royal authority to dominate the conversation. At first, he swayed some of the virtual delegates to his side, and he felt satisfaction. But Ilara's team intervened subtly, asking questions that revealed hidden consequences of his proposals, suggesting alternatives that considered long-term effects, and highlighting solutions that respected all parties. The simulation ended, and the judges, experienced diplomats from various worlds, announced the results. Humans had achieved a balanced, innovative resolution that satisfied the majority of virtual delegates. Xylar's team had achieved partial success, but their approach lacked creativity and nuance. For the first time, Xylar faced the undeniable truth. Humans had taught him something he could not have anticipated. They were clever, adaptable, and wise beyond their appearance. And it was not just Ilara. He realized that human teamwork, empathy, and insight were strengths that even the proud Zandari could not ignore. After the games, Xylar approached Ilara privately. "I underestimated your species," he admitted, his voice low. "I expected compliance or fear, and I found challenge and wisdom instead." Ilara smiled, calm and unassuming. "Underestimation is a common mistake, Prince Xylar, but it is also a good teacher." Xylar nodded slowly. He felt a strange mixture of humility and admiration. The lesson had been delivered not with force nor with insult, but with human ingenuity, patience, and quiet strength. The pain he felt was not physical. It was intellectual and social, sharper than any weapon, and it would stay with him. The humans returned to their quarters, victorious not because they had defeated anyone violently, but because they had demonstrated the power of intelligence, strategy, and ethical action. Across the station, delegates began to treat them differently, not as fragile newcomers but as equals, and in some cases, as advisors and peers. Over the following weeks, human influence grew subtly. Trade negotiations, previously dominated by long-established species, now included human proposals. Alien delegates consulted humans for advice, surprised by their ability to find solutions that combined logic, ethics, and practicality. Ilara's calm leadership became a model for many. Prince Xylar, meanwhile, reflected on his own behavior. He realized that pride and authority were not substitutes for understanding and insight. He began to observe humans closely, learning from their patience and ingenuity. Over time, he approached negotiations with a new perspective, seeking collaboration rather than dominance. One evening, as the station rotated around the distant sun, Xylar visited Ilara again. This time there was no tension, only respect. "I have learned much," he said. "Not from my victories, but from my failures." Ilara nodded. "That is how lessons are remembered, Prince Xylar. The ones we learn the hard way are never forgotten." The prince smiled faintly. "Indeed, and humans, they are not so simple after all." Ilara returned the smile. Humanity had shown its strength not through weapons, not through aggression, but through wisdom, teamwork, and determination. It was a reminder to all species that power came in many forms and sometimes the quietest. Most patient individuals were the most formidable. As the station's lights reflected on the metallic corridors, humans and aliens alike understood that a new chapter had begun. Humans were no longer underestimated. They had arrived in the galaxy as thinkers, problem-solvers, and teachers. And Prince Xylar, once arrogant and dismissive, would carry the lesson with him forever, a reminder that underestimating humans was a mistake even the proudest of princes could not afford. Ilara looked out at the stars beyond the station. Humanity had made its mark not through conquest, but through intellect, patience, and courage. And this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and mysteries, but humans were ready. They had learned the ways of diplomacy, strategy, and subtle power, and they had proven that even the smallest, most underestimated species could teach a lesson that no prince or empire would forget.